Well, as Chief Blocker said, on Christmas evening at approximately 22:30 hours, 3 Battle Creek police officers were dispatched to the 200 block North Birdsall regarding a suicidal subject. Now, Battle Creek officers were already in the vicinity on an unrelated call, so their response time was actually very quick. Just prior to the officer's arrival, dispatch advised that the subject was in possession of a knife, that he was outside the residence in the backyard. As officers arrived on scene, they could hear subjects arguing in that location, and as officers approached on foot, they encountered several subjects in the backyard area. Officers observed the male subject with the knife engaged in an altercation with the female. Officers gave the subject verbal commands to drop the knife, and in mere seconds, officers discharged their firearm, striking the subject and causing him to fall to the ground. Now, immediately, officers began life-saving measures, and ultimately, we transported him to Bronson here in Battle Creek for medical care. Just a few details. 2 of the 3 officers here from Battle Creek fired their sidearms. A total of 5 rounds were shot by these officers. The subject was struck twice in the torso. The subject was found to be in possession of 2 knives and a fake revolver replica. None of the witnesses and or involved victims from that location were hurt, only the male subject with the knife. I'm now going to have Cindy, would you play the video and some of the still shots, please?
Drop it now.
Now, Michigan State Police is going to be handling the criminal investigation on this, and we have Lieutenant Krieger from MSP here with us. Lieutenant Krieger, if you could come on up. The current condition of the subject that was shot, he's in serious condition. He is in Bronson Hospital in Kalamazoo. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions that you may have.
Can we actually replay that again and just lower the lights so it's a little bit more visible?
You sure can.
Thank you very much, sir.
Drop it now.
And we can make this, if we get your emails, we can make this available to
Thank
you
you,
guys as
sir.
well, okay? We good?
Yes, sir, thank you.
You have the lights back up. Thanks, Chief. Any questions that you may have?
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he drop his knife when you guys were asking him to drop the knife?
No, which precipitated the shots being fired.
Right. Okay.
And the first round being shot was that of the 2 officers who were armed.
Yes,
And then you said it was a fake revolver that he had.
yes.
Did he point that, or did he have that in his hand? Where was that?
Yes, a witness on scene who was in very close proximity observed the male subject lift the firearm and point it at the officers.
And does the suspect who was, identified in the release as the boyfriend of one of the victims, one of the witnesses, was there any ongoing restraining orders or anything like that that would prevent him from being with that group of people
Sure.
this past weekend?
Because it's a domestic violence situation and that has not been adjudicated yet, I'm not gonna speak in too much detail as far as what may or may not be occurring, so can't get into that at this time.
Are you releasing the man's name at this point?
No, we're not.
Okay.
What kind of interaction, has the police department had with this individual, kind of prior to this?
Earlier that day, officers did respond to that location regarding a situation that was domestic in nature, where an assault had taken place. So we were familiar with that area, we were familiar with the resident there, and it was unfortunate that we had to return.
This individual have any sort of prior record with you guys? Has he had arrest for weapons or domestic, anything like that?
Yes,
Are you able to disclose?
not at this time.
And, what condition is he in currently?
He's in serious condition.
In what hospital was he in?
Bronson County.
Bronson. How do you feel about the outcome of the event, with the series events leading up to it?
Well, it's tragic and unfortunate that this had to take place on Christmas evening. But listen, as Chief Blocker stated, our officers, they did a fantastic job in spite of being confronted with a pretty high stress and tragic situation. Once again, it's unfortunate this had to take place, but we're also we're very pleased that none of the other people that were involved were injured in this. So it's a tragic situation. We wish it would not have occurred, but all things being considered, we're happy with the limited amount of injury that took place.
And the woman said she was assaulted, that is what originally led you guys to go out there?
There was a call that we responded to about a domestic situation where an assault had taken place. Yes.
And so you said, when officers arrived on scene, that there were several people in the backyard. Who were those other people and what was their relation to the situation?
There were 2 females and another male in the backyard during this, and as you'll see in the incident, there was an actual altercation taking place as officers arrived on scene. It's very difficult based upon the lighting, but there was an active altercation going on with these subjects involved. This gentleman, the individual that was shot, had the knife in his hand, as dispatch had indicated to us, and then also had produced a firearm during that incident. So there was a lot going on to be taken in. It was mere seconds that took place between the time the officers arrived and by the time they had to do what they had to do.
So a total of 4 people, suspect, 2 women and 1 man, plus the officers.
Correct.
At 10:30.
Yes, sir.
Was she the girlfriend or wife? Do we know the exact?
I don't want to go into details regarding anything on the domestic side of things,
Okay.
just out of respect for that to play out.
Between the 2:30 call and the 10:30 call, it says that the 3 officers from Battle Creek responded to the residents. Was there any reason to believe that officers could have stuck around in case the suspect came back, since it was at the same residence?
Well, I'm not sure. It was earlier in the day of the first call, so it's unreasonable to expect them to be able to hang around for hours and hours. There's other calls for service and stuff out there that's community. It was a pretty terrible night for weather, so their hands were full. So no, this is not possible, feasible for them. And we're talking at least, I don't know, 6 or maybe 4 to 6, even almost 8 hours, I think, from the original call.
So the first call, you guys went out there and he wasn't at the house, and then you were going around searching for him. Is that what
That's
was
correct.
taking place? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This, firearm, was it, an airsoft gun or, it looks pretty realistic, I'll just say that.
Yes. Is it an airsoft gun? No, but that is a very well done replica of a revolver.
And, I mean, obviously, we saw the result of carrying a fake firearm, but, could you maybe kind of talk a little bit about, the dangers of having a gun that's, not real and putting yourself at risk with the police department?
Well, unfortunately, the gentleman made a decision. Not only did he have in point that fake revolver, he had actually, you saw the knife that he had in his hand at the scene, and was told by people on scene to dispatch, which relayed that information to our officers on scene. So, like I said, it is a tragic situation. It is unfortunate. We wish it would not have occurred. However, the officers did an excellent job based on their training and experience that brought this to as successful of a conclusion as we could have possibly had based upon the situation in its totality.
And Deputy Chief, Lieutenant, you could also chime in too. Was there reason to believe that the suspect was a public threat in the 8 hours between the first call and the last call, since there were quite a few details, concerning details from the first call at 2:30 from that day?
Well, I would say this: anyone that would engage in that type of behavior is a threat. However, that his behavior was specific to the individuals at that location. So a threat to the general public, we had no information at that time that would cause us to believe that he was a threat to the general public, but specifically to the residents at that location, without a doubt.
And he was reported to be making suicidal statements. Were they, in nature, confined to people at the residence, or just what were some of the concerning
Sure.
statements relayed by dispatch from the callers in terms of what he was trying to, what messages he was trying to
Okay,
send?
not gonna speak to specifics. This is an active and ongoing investigation right now. MSP is literally, they're currently conducting this investigation. There's a lot of other interviews that has to take place, so I'm not gonna speak to the specifics, but the information that was relayed to us is that he was suicidal and back at that residence. So I don't know to what extent those statements were made.
The individual made threats to the people that were at the premises.
Don't wanna speak to that at this time.
And then the officers, I assume they're still on administrative leave.
Yes, until we there's the criminal side and then the administrative side that we, standard procedure, until that's completed. And when they're ready to come back to work, then they'll be back.
Not admitted to the hospital, they're just,
I'm sorry?
they were admitted to the hospital.
No injuries from officers and no injuries to the others involved parties.
And obviously, not in the prosecutor's office, but any idea when the individual might be arraigned?
None.
Fair.
Have you guys had contact with the others? How are they holding up?
I'm not sure. I mean, as you can imagine, with kind of the trauma from a extremely volatile and tragic situation, I'm sure that they're shaken up as we all would be. But no, I have not spoke to them. MSP's handling the criminal component in this and has been speaking to them as their investigation continues.
What kind of support is the police department offering the, I guess we could call them the victim, the woman whose house this has occurred at?
Sure, we have a victim advocate here at Battle Creek PD and have reached out and just making sure that we can be of service. But we put that on the victim to make sure that they want our help. But we have reached out through our victim advocate to make sure that we can support as best we can.
Did the suspect live at that residence?
Not to my knowledge. Sound good? We all wrapped up? All right. If you guys, we can write down your email addresses, and we'll make sure we'll make this